Thanks for reminding me. So our next step along preparing our mesh is to get it into the center of the world, right? And you'll notice that my pivot point is not at the center of my character. So first we need to get it to the center of our character and then the center of the world. So in order to get that pivot point aligned with the center of the character, what you're gonna have to do is hold D. That'll change that little manipulator. And then hold V so you can snap to vertices. And I'm gonna drag the red X to get it centered on the left and right side of the character right there. I'm gonna drag this up to one of these lines of symmetry right here. And it'll be set right there. And then from the side, you can kind of just eyeball it and get it into the kind of the center of mass in terms of Z. Also, make sure that you're facing Z, like your character is facing Z. Some of your characters might be facing X forward. These need to be Z forward down here. So if you look at this little manipulator, has the Y, the Z, and the X. The Z needs to be facing forward at all times. So if it's not, and it's off by like 90 degrees, what you can do is just type in 90 there, and it would snap, and that's in your channel box. You just type in 90 degrees on the rotate Y, or negative 90 if it's rotated the other way wrong, or 180 if it's completely facing away from Z. So that's how you get it back to Z. You can also press E to go into rotate, and then hold J to snap rotations, and you can see that it's going at, I think, 15 degrees at a time. And then you can kind of snap that rotation value to be exactly what you want it to be. So you have that in there now. Your character is facing Z forward, and the pivot point is on the center of the character. What color is Z? Z is blue down here. It's really tiny. You can also see it on your manipulator, but if you hold W and left click, make sure you go into world if you're looking at this manipulator. Because if you're in object, and then say I was still not rotated towards world forward Z. Right now I'm rotated towards world forward X, but notice how my manipulator says I'm pointing towards the blue, the Z axis. How would you center a four-legged character? I would probably do the basically the chest bone of that character would be over the center of the axis. Over world 0. So the chest would be over that. The rest of the character could be aligned just left and right according to the middle of the character. This is hard. I should have opened the call somewhere else. Oh no. Teddy, no. No, yeah, this is going to be, I keep having to pan back and forth. Okay. I can go slower. And miss where you open stuff. Yeah. If you guys miss anything, please just do the little like raise your hand thing, or do the like just type into the dialog box or into the chat box, or just unmute your mic and be like, Mike, go back. I need help, and then I'm happy to go back. Yeah, most of your characters, though, when I remember looking at them in class, were facing, hey, snap the character to the middle. Well, that's the next step. That's the next step. So you have your, but I remember most of your characters were facing towards Z positive in the world. I can't recall anyone that wasn't, but double check. So remember to double check to make sure you're facing forward on Z. Hold W, left click, and go to world axis. So I'm just holding W and left click to open up this little marquee menu. Go to world. And then notice my character is facing towards X, facing towards red right now. So that would need to change. And I can do that by changing the rotation by 90 degrees. We can go back down to 0, and it's fixed. Alternatively, you can hold E and J while rotating, or you can press E, don't hold E. You can just press E and hold J, and you should be able to snap to rotations there. So your character is now facing forward on Z, and then you need to align that to the center of the world. How do you snap the character to the middle? Hold D and J. No. Snapping the pivot point to the center of the character, you hold D. So I'm just gonna make my pivot point out here somewhere. So now that's where I'm pivoting from. See that when I rotate the character, they're rotating around that point. To get this pivot point to change, you have to hold D. So now I can change that pivot. And then you also have the snapping tools. Remember, so if you hold V, you're in snapping to vertex mode. If you hold X, you're snapping to grid. So now it's going based on that grid. Notice how it's lining up with all those grid marks. You see how it's doing that right there? So what you do is you have to go hold D and hold V, and then snap it on the red axis. I'm only doing red axis. So now it's going between different points on my 3D model. And I'm gonna snap it to this sternum piece because I know that is on the line of symmetry, right? Like directly in the middle of the model. And it should line up perfectly with the rest of it. Then I have to fix the pivot point on Z. So if I hold D, then drag that into the model, it's now aligned with that character. I'm just kind of going center of mass on that character. And we should be good there. Now to get that in the middle of the world, you hold X, which is to snap on grid, and you snap it to world 0 right there. That's the end goal, is to get this character in this world 0. All right. So now you'll see that you have, if you open up your channel box, you've got a bunch of, you probably, if you had to rotate your character as well, you probably have more strange values in here. So one last step for doing that, for fixing that up, is to modify freeze transformations. And I'm going to, so modify is up here. And freeze transformations, and I'm going into the options box just to make sure. So we got freeze transformations here. And I'm just making sure that translate, rotate, and scale are all checked. And these settings are the same as well. Yeah, so just translate, rotate, and scale are the main ones though. And then you click freeze transforms, and then you'll have nice clean values in here, 0s and 1s. And our scene is pretty much cleaned up. The last step is to go into Windows, Outliner, and you're going to want to delete all of these objects that aren't your mesh. But watch out for these. Watch out for this icon that you see right here, because it can be, if you delete some of these, it can mess with your mesh, because these are kind of history nodes. So these keep track of history. And in order to get around those, you can go into Edit, delete all by type history. And then I'm just deleting these 2 objects that aren't the body, and we're left with our clean mesh. So your end outliner should look like this. And if you can't get to your outliner, it's under Windows, or it's under Windows, Outliner right here. That pops up this outliner that has an basically it shows you every single object that's in the scene. It's a nice little preview for that. You can click around inside here, select different things. But yeah, so I'm just waiting a little bit for everyone to get up to that point.
Should we have our model like merged at this point to a single item, or?
Yeah, if you have separate things, you could leave them. You could leave them as separate holes like that. If you but still have them be movable around. If you just hold on, let me
Like
get it.
combine?
Yeah, 1 second though. There's something else that you can do. If you're really intent on keeping them separate, then you can do this. But if not, then I would just do mesh combine. Let me save this first. It just turned green. Your entire model.
Pardon?
Sorry, Tenny asked a question in the chat. Because if you, I would save as Tenny. I would save as and make a new file and then reopen, like close Maya and then reopen it. See if that persists. So if you have a bunch of objects, Irene, in your character model, these are nonsense. You don't have to worry about them. So if you control in G, that'll make a group. And then if you look into that group, you'll have each individual item in there. But you can move that group around and it'll move them all at the same time. So that's if you want to keep them separate. If not, you can always just...
I'm going to send a screen cap of what I see in my outliner because it looks a little different from yours.
It might have to do with that history.
Maybe. I did go through and clean it, but it's still, this is what it still looks like when I'm done.
Okay. Send me the file, actually.
Okay. Like, should I save this as a separate copy and then?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And then just drop it in Discord. Because it'd be nice to show that example for a lot of people. When I try to delete any of the little red arrows in the outliner, it deforms my model. Yeah. So if, I'll show you on this new file coming in. Okay. All right. I'm gonna open up this one. We'll see. Yeah, so Vanessa, that's what I was talking about with that history. Like these are history nodes in here. And usually deleting these will mess up the model. We'll see if it does for this. Looks fine. Ooh, I don't know what this is though. Let's see it. Okay. Interesting. Huh, well, that was pretty clean. I was not expecting that to work. I thought it would mess up the model, but I'm gonna undo. Let's see here. Okay. So these are all history nodes, like these little red arrows on the paper. And they keep track of like positional data and stuff. Nope, it's still green. I think I'll start over because really the only thing I was able to move was the pivot point. Yeah, well, I mean, you could submit your file and then I'll check it out on my end and see what's going on if you're running into any issues. But yeah, so if you go to modify or edit, my bad, and then delete all by type history, that should make it so it's not it doesn't remember any of these history nodes that were in here. And then you should be free to delete them, Vanessa. When I clean up, Maya keeps selecting some faces on the hair, but I've already checked them. They don't have seem to have any duplicated vertex. Because you might have some other options enabled in mesh cleanup. You might have some non-manifold geometry. I don't think we need to worry about non-manifold stuff for the rest of this class, because if you're UVing, you probably already solved it. Yeah, I would just go ahead and delete those red arrows. Just delete everything except for the object. And then also, I would get this pivot point to be at the center of the world right here. So I do both those steps. So if Denise, if you have those, if those faces are still, like if they're showing up as non-manifold and you can figure out why, you can feel free to delete them and then like remake whatever you need to solve it. But non-manifold geometry is a different problem, unfortunately. No, but it's still green. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I think everyone else's question has been resolved. Tenny, though, Tenny, you still running into problems? And the keys are D and what to lock to world center. So to D is to move the pivot point, right? So if you only move that, you'll only be pressing D if your pivot point is offset from your model. In this case, it is. So I hold D and V to snap that back onto the model. So now I'm snapping according to the object's vertices. Notice how it's going in the increments of the vertices that I'm mousing over. So if I hold D and V and I'm dragging on only X because that's like where it's most offset, I need to get this one in down the direct center of the model. So I would snap to one of these middle verts on the model. And then now that pivot point is in the center of the model, and then snap on X. Remember, your model was kind of like, it was somewhere up like here. So if you already have the model in the world center, you could also just hold D and X and then snap according to the grid. Because remember, X is snapping to grid, V is snapping to verts. And yeah, so then you can get it right back in the center there. I'm not sure what to delete in that list. Tanny, you can delete pretty much everything in that list. Just do an edit, delete all by type history first. Tenny, send that file over to me, because something's getting lost in your shaders. Okay, so we got the character. And then, yeah, I just got it, Tenny. So if we go in, let's do edit, delete all by type history. Show. Yeah, because I'm seeing a bunch of stuff in here that I don't need to see. Yeah, I think you're good to go, Tenny. Like, the problem was that you were displaying a lot of different channels in your show box right here. But the like you already had everything like deleted out of there that you needed. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have like those image planes or anything in your scene and all that stuff. You pretty much only have this mesh surface, so you're good to go. Because when it was showing up green, it was probably because you were deleting these shaders in here. Yeah, yeah. So you had a bunch of these different materials, and then you were deleting them, and then Maya was losing the connection to them because they were all deleted and gone. But yeah, all right. So once your character's in the world center and you froze the transforms in here with modify freeze transformations, you're good to start messing with the rig script. So we downloaded all those, all right? And they go into our downloads folder. And then, let's see, let me get mine on the screen so you can see. So you have like these are like all the class files I was doing. Yours would appear in downloads somewhere, in wherever that ends up. And then what you need to do is run that in Maya now. Oh, wait. How do you get into the world mode? I uploaded it on, you just hold W and left click, and then you can go into the world axis. But your character's fine. You've been pointing Z forward, and you've been on the middle of it this whole time, so you're good to go. So what we need to do is run that script in Maya now, right? So wait, where's this? Okay. So in order to run a script within Maya, you need to find where the scripts directory for Maya is. And it happens to be on PC. You just go to Documents, Maya, 2019, Scripts. And you can see that I put all those class ones inside Maya 2019, right? So this is the scripts directory for Maya on PC. On PC, I don't know who's using a Mac, but that will be in a different spot. Let's Google it. Maya scripts directory, Mac. All right. So it'll be in library, preferences. Wait, it's like my plugin. Where's my scripts folder on that? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, library, preferences, Autodesk, Maya, and then 2019 in our case, scripts. Yeah. You move that document, that text document that you downloaded from Beachboard into this folder. And so on Mac, it's in Library Preferences, Autodesk Maya Scripts. On PC, username, documents, Maya Scripts. There's also, in here, it'd be Maya 2019 Scripts. I don't know why they left out the 2019 in this case. Can you please repeat the part to find the script? My screen froze. So you downloaded the script, right? So it should just be in your downloads folder. Now, I don't know where the downloads folder is on Mac, but it'll be in there as well. So just find that, and then you could copy it, which is Control-C or Command-C, and then you navigate to this folder, this PC, Documents, Maya, 2019, Scripts, and then you paste it in there, and then it'll be in the Scripts folder. I drop the folder from the download folder. Yeah, that works too, Tenny. You just so you get this script in here, and it'll be fine. You sound so resentful when you emphasize Mac. No, I'm not resentful. I just want you guys to know the file paths is all. They're different for each different operating system. And yeah, so everyone should have the script that they're going to rig with in here. I've also included the anim script on Beachboard. This is for when you're using it. This is only for if you're using Rapid Rig Advanced, and it really helps with switching between different spaces like IK versus FK rotations on arms and legs, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I use it for. And then the modular one has this selector stuff. Probably I haven't used the selector myself, but I'm guessing there's some useful tools in there somewhere. But yeah, so everyone at this point should have Rapid Rig Advanced in this directory, or Rapid Rig Modular, or both if you want to mess around with both. But yeah, so that's what's going on there for now. Now let's see. So the next step is to get it running in Maya. So you just move that script into the scripts folder for Maya. But Maya doesn't know about that script yet. Like it's never seen that script before. And when you first opened it at the start of the day, it scanned that scripts folder and found nothing in there. So it doesn't think you'd have any scripts. So what we need to do is go save this out. Save as blah blah blah, whatever you're this to, and you'll be good to go. So what you need to do is close Maya now that you saved, and Maya is closing. And then we're going to pop open Maya again. We got this fresh Maya, and when Maya opens, it scans that scripts folder every time, and then it links up to those scripts. So now Maya knows about them. And let's go back to this one because it makes sense. So we have to get that script running in our scene now, right? So we're gonna need to get this name, right? So if you're using Rapid Rig Advanced V2, what we're gonna do is in Maya, we're gonna type that exact name, or you can just click to alter the name and then just Command C or Control C and copy that. Then go back into Maya, paste that into that line, because this is essentially one line of the script editor. And what we're going to do is type our code in here to run the script. And in order to close off one of those lines, like this is the line of code, Rapid Rig Advanced version 2, you're just going to hit the semicolon, not the regular colon, semicolon. So after you've gotten that typed perfectly, or you just copy and pasted the words in there, you do semicolon, and then make sure it's on Mel. It could be on Python down here. Make sure it's on Mel because this is a Mel script. And then you just hit enter, and you'll have our little script right here, ready to go. Semicolon, yeah, that's the right one. Tenny's got it. In fact, I'm just going to copy and paste the lines of code in there into the chat. So if you're using Rapid Rig Advanced, just copy that text I just typed in there. If you're doing Rapid Rig Modular, let's just make sure this works before I tell you guys. Okay, yeah. If you're using Rapid Rig Modular, copy and paste that into this script line right down here. All right. All right. So now we have our scene ready for the rigging process. Now that there's some stuff with, there's a few rules to where we're going to set up these joints. And that's kind of universal across both modular and advanced. And I'll go into that, but it has to do with your elbows and your knees, right? So when we're animating this character and we're lifting up a control, we want to just be able to move this control up and have the knee bend outward. That's like the ideal settings, right? But if you misplace that middle knee joint, then when you lift it up, sometimes that will bend outward and look really nasty. It'll look like you're breaking your leg every single time you do it. And I don't recommend. So the rule for arms and legs is that you have to keep the shoulder or the hip joint. I want you to think about the hip joint to be as the same as the shoulder. And then you have to have the hip in a direct line with the ankle joint that we put in. So it's got to be a straight shot downward into that ankle joint. And same for the arm. So from the shoulder joint to the wrist joint has to be a straight line, and the elbow has to rest on that. You can't have some arm that's like bent and kind of broken in the middle and then expect the auto rig to fix that. But yeah, so now we're gonna start. I'm gonna go through Rapid Rig Advanced first, and then I'm going to recreate it in Rapid Rig Modular as well. And just because some people might be using Modular, I know at least 2 people are, versus Advanced. But yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to save my scene. And in the proxy rig, now if the word proxy rig doesn't make much sense, don't worry about it. The proxy is just basically like a fake thing. It's not the real rig that's going in there. What we need to do is generate these proxies. These are fake locations of the points of our skeleton, right? And then the auto rig is going to go in, look at those points, find out where to put the real joints for the skeleton and the real rig controls on that skeleton. So we got to start setting up these proxy rigs. So if you have thumbs, definitely include a thumb. And then fingers. If you have, I know some people have less than 4 fingers on the hand, on their character model. So if we bump that up to 4, then that'll work fine. Toes, you probably don't want to mess with toes, because toes, I feel like no one's gonna have some sort of zoomed in thing where you have to do some articulate toe motion. Like I don't anticipate that happening. And especially if you have shoes on, then you don't need those at all. So I would leave toes at 1, because you don't want to skin or animate those. It's kind of boring. Spine, I find three joints is fine for the spine controls, and then you can go as low as 1 on the neck and still make it work. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create proxies. And you'll see that it created this. Let me add this character to a layer. It made this proxy rig. So this is the proxy rig that I was talking about, the fake locations for those joints, right? So now our goal is to align this proxy rig to, let me find the character, to this character. So I'm gonna work primarily in 4 mode, right? I just pressed 4. And now I'm in wireframe mode, so I can see my proxies on top of my character. And right from the start, I'm just going to go and press R on my main control down here, this ring. I'm just gonna scale that downward. Right there. And I scaled it down a bit too much, so let's bring it up to the head area. Nice. All right, so now we need to worry about joint placement. And let's start with the root. What do you do if the proxy is super off? How super off are we talking? Like insanely off? Because that might be a world scale issue. That could be a world scale issue. If that's the case, I would go to Windows, Settings and Preferences, Settings. So just to recap, that was Windows, Settings and Preferences. And then in Settings, you have linear, centimeters. You can set that to be meters or centimeters. Whichever one you're in right now might not be working for its values. So if you go to meters, well, that is an issue already for this character as well, because I'm imagining this character being larger than this. So if I make this non-reference, I can go in and scale this character up, because we're now in meters in terms of size. And so I would guess this character is about like what, 1.7 meters maybe. So I'm just ballparking this. So yeah, you can go in here and scale those down. Oh my God. Yeah, these got all whacked out as well from redoing that scale. So I would change that back down to centimeters in my case, because I don't want to look at those huge locators all over the place. But yeah, so you get your character to the proper scale, and then just scale your guy up from there. Or scale this main control up from there. Hopefully that worked. What do you do if it's looking like my character is too big? Can you go over on how to scale it again, please? So if your character is like massive, like hugely massive, this big, what you would do is just click on your character, scale him down to a reasonable size, In my case, this was a reasonable size. Like my character was like this big though. What I would do is I'd just scale it down to a reasonable size. And then also to lock that in, wait, after you set all the numbers, did you click on create proxies? Yes, yes. So I set up four fingers and a thumb, 1 toe, 3 on the spine, and then 1 in the neck. And then I just did create proxies. And then also, Irene, if you had to scale your character for some reason, note that you have those values in your scale modifier. So now you have to go to modify, freeze transformations again to bring those back to 1. Why can't I see my skeleton? Did any sort of error pop up down here? Did it display red at all when you did create proxies? Not at first. I would reopen the file and try it again. Yeah, because that you probably created the proxies at some point, and then you might have done Control Z or something, and it doesn't like that because it will have imported that proxy skeleton. And then when you click the Create Proxies button again, it's like looking for those names in the hierarchy, and it might find like the old memory of them from when you first press the button, and then it might error out. So that might be the problem that you're running into there. I'm going to copy these 2 lines into the Discord as well. Let's do it in the help, please section. Channel box, the scale, the channel box, wait, in the channel box, is the scale supposed to be reset to 1? Yeah, yeah. So, because think about it like a 1-to-1 scale, that means that you're at your default scale. Like that is nothing changed about you. Like if you're at a scale 0, then that means that you'd be just gone and like deleted from the scene. You'd just be crushed. So hopefully Denise was able to get the create proxies button running. But yeah, so now comes the part where we start kind of aligning. Now the skeleton appeared, but it's super tiny and not even aligned to my character. Oh my god. So that could be because your character might be really tiny. So if you go into Windows, Settings and Preferences, then Settings, and then make sure that the scale makes sense. Like if you convert to meters, make sure it makes sense in meters, and then you can scale the airline. Freeze transform was not applied because polysurface translate X has incoming connection. What did you do to get that? Did you do you create proxies?
I was trying to do the modify freeze transformations. Do I have to delete the proxies to try and get around that?
You shouldn't freeze transforms on the proxies at all.
Not the proxies, like I'm clicking only the character figure.
It shouldn't be doing that to the character figure if you, I think you might have had part of the proxy selected, because you should always be able to freeze transforms on your character.
Okay.
On the mesh at least. I just checked, it's set in meters already. Try setting it to centimeters and then like save the file and then, or load the file again and then run it again, but convert your file to centimeters first. And make sure, because if it's in meters also, but like your character's super small, like if your grid would look like super huge compared to your character, that means your character's like super tiny. Because like think about how big a meter is in real life, you know? So yeah. Irene, were you able to freeze the mesh?
Nope.
That's really strange. Look up into your channel box up here. Are any of these red at all?
Nope.
Are any of these like colored at all?
Now some are red. I'm
Okay.
trying to like backpedal through some of my steps.
So you probably have a key. So look at your timeline, and it's probably at 1. There'll probably be a red line somewhere. So find that and then delete it.
Can you point out where on the timeline?
So if I had my, so notice how small this red line is right there.
Okay.
Try to find that. If you can't find that, go into Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and you should be able to find it immediately.
Okay.
You just drag select over your entire thing and then just delete it. Because it had like a key somewhere in there, and then you couldn't freeze it because of that. All right, so if you get all that stuff fixed up, you're free to start aligning all these different controls to where you want them in real space. May have to send you the file. Yeah, please do. Let me just go through this real quick so everyone can get started on it. First, I'm going to add this to a layer, this mesh to a layer. I'm just going to delete the one I already had in there because I don't want to keep clicking on this if I'm clicking on my proxies, right? So I'm going to add it to a layer over here. It's in this display box. It's under your channel box. So if you're in some other thing, go back to your channel box. You can always find it there. Then add it to a display layer. And then click this right box twice to make it a reference. You can no longer click on it. So now you can start aligning these different pieces to where they should be on your model. So think about this as like the pelvis, the root. And we're going to have that kind of rest in there. Only move this on Y and Z. Don't start placing this off to the side. It locks you out of that actually, but I don't trust that. Like just don't even mess with the x-axis on this one at least. These other ones though, you can kind of start fiddling around with them. So if you move this in here, because if you look at the little name, it says L hip, so this is gonna be your hip control. So I would align this to kind of where that pivot point of the hip is going to be. So in our case, right here, guessing that was the fall, yeah. And then, so you go from the hip down to the ankle. So now skip everything between those. Like don't touch the knee just yet. Because remember, the knee has those specific settings you need to use. And then align this to basically where the character's ankle would bend. And the last step for the leg, not the foot yet, but the leg, is to align this vertically to fit inside where the knee is. But notice when I move it like that, that the way this arrow is pointing means that's where the knee is going to bend when we raise that leg. So this is what I'm talking about when you don't want to start getting that to be like skewed off to the side. So in order to stop that, hold W and go into object mode. Now in object mode, you can just drag on that yellow axis, that Y axis, and you should be good to go. So that was, again, holding W and holding left click, going to object mode. You should be able to drag that up and down. It'll be fine. You can also drag it a little bit forward as well to get into the center mass of that knee, but don't drag it like back beyond that. Again, it locks you out of doing that, but these programs aren't like flawless, so I wouldn't depend on that. I would just make sure to just keep it in the middle there. Now for the foot, don't drag these off to the side. We need those feet pointing forward, remember? I was saying that in class. So don't drag this off to the side because your local rotation of your foot rig will be messed up if you do that. So feet always forward. Like even, like look, these feet are a little bit pigeon-toed, like they're a bit angled inward. Still, don't mess with it. Just keep it on Z forward. If your feet are really messed up and you have to fix them, then go for it. I would go into face mode and I would just rotate it and kind of fix it up like that. So that's what I would do to fix that up, to get it pointing straight forward on there. This one's not too bad though, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to go back into my proxies layer. And I'm going to get this one. This is the ball of the foot. So this is basically where you, does it have a symmetry function for the joints and stuff? It does. So if I'm doing the left side right now. Like I'm currently fixing the left side of these. And like, look how many finger joints there are. There is a mirror function. So if you fix the left side, you just click left to right. Or if you were fixing the right side, you would do right to left. That's how you do that, if you're already at that step, but that's for the future. So this is the ball of the foot. You're just gonna set that. I always keep it on the ground because this part will be making contact with the ground when you do like toe raises with the controls. And then align this to the front of the foot, like the very tip of the foot. And then align this foot out tilt to the side of the ball of the foot. And this one, same as the other one, but on the inside of it. So now we have the leg lined up. And now we got to do the spine. So the spine, I'm going to kind of keep these. I know these are called the spine controls, but don't put them where your vertebrae are in real life. Don't do that. In 3D, you kind of keep them more in the center of mass. So I'm going to keep them over here. And I'm going to lower these. Well, lower this top spine joint a little bit. In fact, you probably want to start with the top spine because notice how it's changing those other ones in there. So I get that in the top of that area right there. And then now we got to go with clavicles. I always keep the clavicle towards the inside of the character. This one, you can kind of move all over the place, but I kind of just keep it center of mass, closer to the spine. The shoulder really matters though. This one's pretty important because this clavicle is going to be basically the shrug controls. That's how you're going to do a shrug with your character, is with this clavicle control. So the more inside you keep that, the better range of motion you're going to get on that shrug. But yeah, so I for this shoulder, I would keep it kind of center of mass there, and just think about where your real life shoulder kind of pivots from. It's just kind of from that interior part where it meets up with all that, all like the shoulder girdle and stuff. So I'm going to put it right there. And then much like the leg, we're going to skip the elbow. We're going to skip that middle joint and go straight to the wrist. And I'm going to align that with the wrist on our character. And then I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode to align the elbow. And I'm going to slide that right there. This elbow has the same problem where if you position that up or down, it's going to change the angle of that elbow. You don't want that because that's going to break your elbows when you're animating, and it's just awful. So keep the elbow at the elbow, and then this wrist is a little bit off to the side. I want to keep that center mass from all perspectives. Now it's a little bit too low, so I'm going to keep that up there. And just make sure I get that perfect middle center of mass right there. And thankfully the elbows were pretty well modeled on here because they're pretty much just like halfway through the character there. So my elbow control lined up pretty nicely. If not, you can kind of slide it around there. Or if you have a character with a design with elongated like forearms or something, you could just manually go in and kind of move that around. But just make sure you're on object axis, or you're in object space by holding W and left click and going to object. Then you got to start up lining up all of these thumbs. This is why we have those mirror tools. Because we got to get these to be inside that each of those joints. So if you look at let me go back into wireframe mode. If you look at this first finger, you'll notice I have 4 joints, but the finger doesn't have 4 joints, right? It only has those 3. It has the knuckle and then like the first and second digit. So if you go align this first one to the knuckle, let's get that kind of center of mass there. And then you can kind of rotate the control, that first one, and all the subsequent ones will follow. And then you can kind of move these out right here. And then let's do the same for these fingers. And you're just going to keep those center of mass on those bad boys. And you guys are probably putting in your joints as well, so I'll just do this along with you guys. All right. We'll be right back You gotta go get something. You got it. And the thumb is just the same as those other ones. Oh, Jasper, if you're just kind of sitting around, because like I'm not doing the modular one yet, you could instead go to my YouTube channel and look up the modular one, or Beachboard has a link to it in there. I believe I rig up a horse centaur person. It's very low fidelity horse centaur person, but I still do it. So you can take a check at that, take a gander. But yeah, so I'm just aligning the rest of these joints in there. And kind of twist this thumb out a little bit more. Dinner so I can eat and work. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Still need to eat dinner. Frick. All right, so I just got my hand. I haven't been able to finish my problem with my skeleton. All right, Denise, drop that file into Discord for me as well, because Irene is having a similar problem. Or Irene's just also having problems, so. So while you guys are getting to that point, I'm going to save scene as. I'm going to try to fix these other files. Let's see what's going on. So let's pop open Irene's file, see what's going on. All right. Noise, noise. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Absolutely. So the problem with this file, let's see, let's go back into, is that you couldn't freeze the transforms. I see that there is a key on there somewhere, and it's at 119. So deleting that. And the scale is 111. So I should be able to just, I don't even have to modify freeze transforms on this one, to be honest. So we're good to go. Now I just go, let's see, how many fingers do you have? Yep, 4 fingers and a thumb. Toes, yep, 1, if that even. This might not be movable. It'll have the ankle joint, but I don't know if the toe will have the joint. Spine 3 and neck 1 is fine by me. So I'm just gonna create proxies. Proxies already exist in this scene, no action taken. All right, so you have some sort of, you already clicked the create proxies button. So, so what we're gonna need to do is, I really want to export this. Okay, yeah, because if we just try to this again, this is what I was talking about, how it like has the, wait, can I just viz on the, oh, the proxy is already in the scene. Okay, all right. I thought they might have been deleted out or something. So let's scale these bad boys up. I'm going to go to Windows, Setting Preferences, Settings. I'm just gonna go back to centimeters to make those stupid stupid locators not be all really like, annoying visually. I don't really trust the proxy though. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna file export your selection of your model. I'm gonna do Irene model. So I'm just only exporting the MB of that. I'm gonna open up that scene, Irene model. Don't save, continue. All right, so now we only have a figure in there, no proxies layer, none of that. So let's see if we can create proxies and see if it works. Okay, so we just created some fresh proxies. I'm gonna scale those up. And there you go. All right, so I'm going to save this out. I'm gonna save as Irene proxy setup. Okay. Now, I'm going to drop that back in Discord and you grab it locally on your side and everything should be nice. There we go. And then Denise, let's download this one. And let's see what's going on with this file. Okay. So right off the bat, I would hold D and V and align this to the bottom of the feet of the character, and I would snap that to the bottom of world 000. I would also probably align it a little bit forward, and then snap that back into here. That's so you're at 000 in there. I'm going to delete all this other extraneous stuff that we no longer need. And I'm going to go into the outliner. And you have a lot of things in here. I'm guessing that's a lot of history nodes for the character. I'm going to file save scene as auto rig prep, because we don't know if this is going to break it or not. Let's go edit, delete all my type history. I should be good to delete everything except for this character. I'm going to modify freeze transformations to get all those values out of there. And so the file should be set up for that. I'm going to delete this layer. And is the object on here? No, I'm going to delete this layer as well. I'm going to save it again. And then let's see if we can, how many fingers do you have? 4, yep, and a thumb. Nice, nice. Create proxies. Okay, so it's a super tiny guy right here. And the problem was the scale of the scene, you said. So it's Windows, preferences, settings. Oh, yeah. So you're in meters right now. So each one of these grid boxes is 1 meter. So your character is like, like almost 10 meters tall, which is insane. So, so what we're going to do is scale your character down to a more reasonable size. I'm going to do like 1.7, I guess. Who knows? Who knows? This seems reasonable. And I'm going to set this back to centimeters. So notice when it's in meters, you have all these like crosses all over your model. So I just go back to centimeters to solve that. And then I'm going to modify freeze transformations on your character to get that back to 1-to-1 scale. And then I'm going to scale this up to kind of start fitting the character. And then I'm just going to save this. Wait, 1 second. I'm going to save this. And you should be good to go. So I'm going to copy that back into Discord as well, just so you don't have to bother with doing that. downloads folder. There it is. Right here. I think you can rig it in the A pose with this setup. I can test really quick whether or not you can. Don't set up your character like this asymmetrically. I'm just doing this for the test to see if the rig generates still, even if you're in an A pose. I believe it does. Pretty sure it does. Oh, Vanessa, the Symmetry Tool is in this pose proxy rig. Don't click the reset button because that just destroys all of your placing of joints that you've done. What you want to do is if you look at your character from behind, this is the left side of your character, and this is the right side of your character. So if you've been fixing the left side, just click left to right. If you've been fixing the right side, click right to left. So left to right is going to snap that right there. You see that? So because I was doing the left side changes. And then you can generate rig. This is just a test though. I'm not going to actually do this. So let's get joints. Yeah, the rig seems to be working in an A pose, so you can rig it up that way if you'd like. Yeah, so feel free to rig it up like that, and it should work. But be careful in the future though. If you work with other auto rigs, they might not work like that. They might not work like that. They might not be that modular, but who knows? Who knows? It's on a case-by-case basis. This one thankfully does, and I believe Human IK, the one that I showed you guys last week, also does. So back to our other file. I think it's rig example 2, is that the in progress one? Yeah, so I got my hands set up, and I got my torso set up and my legs. So we're pretty much good to go. We just need to start aligning the last bits of it, which is the neck and head. So this neck joint, I'm going to put basically at the start of the neck, at the base of that neck area. And remember, kind of keep it center of mass. Oh, I got you another cue though. How do I open the Proxy Rig Box? Do I have to input the script again? Yeah. So if you close that panel, just copy and paste this line, that line into that same bottom left box, and that should pop right up. So align that neck to the center of the mass of the base of the neck, like because the neck kind of starts from there, and that'll be the start of like those what they call them, like the cervical spine segments. That'd be like kind of where they start, and then move the head. Oh, so the head kind of moved the neck there, as you were seeing. So probably place the head first. I'm going to put that head kind of center of mass of this area. And remember, I'm not moving on X at all. So don't try to like use this interior one to align your object at all. Like you'll fall off of the middle axis if you do that. So let's keep it on the blue and the Y, the blue and the yellow for Z and Y respectively. So I'm gonna put that in the kind of where if you imagine where your spine kind of links up into your skull, that's kind of where I'm gonna put that. And this one, I'm gonna readjust to get back to the base of that neck. Now this jaw joint, if you want some jaw movement, I would kind of set this a little bit further back, because like your jaw can kind of come out a little bit, and like when you open it up, it doesn't just go straight down. It doesn't just bop 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 bop. It kind of instead rotates out like that, because you have that pivot point in like kind of near your ear. That's what kind of where that jaw goes from. So I'm going to put that back there. Then if you have eyes, if you have spherical eyes in your character, you're going to want to align. Well, I'm just going to adjust this head tip joint to be at the very top of the head. You're going to want to get these into the center of that eyeball. So if I create a new eye for you guys to look at. If I rotate with J, and then I'm going to modify freeze transforms on this bad boy. I'm going to move that back to where the eye would be. So you need this eye joint right here to be in the direct middle of that sphere that we put in there. So the way we do that is with snapping. So if you hold V, you should be able to start snapping to different verts again, like we were doing to snap the control to the middle of the character, or the pivot to the middle of the character. Now, we're going to use D and V in combo to move the pivot point. Or actually, wait, no, we're not moving the pivot point on this one. Don't do D on when you're selecting these proxies. We're just going to only use V. My bad, misspoke there. So we're only going to use V, and we're going to align to the middle span of the sphere on Z. So I'm aligning Z first. And then I'm going to align Y. So I'm going to get it down to that middle span right there. So I hold V and go to the middle right there. And then I'm going to align on X as well. So I'm going to hold V and drag on X, get that to the very center of that sphere. So whenever that rotates around, then the eye will just completely follow it like one-to-one. So that's our goal there, is to get these to kind of match each other. Because if you have an offset on that location, whenever your eye rotates inside that skull of your character, it would start moving around and like really messed up. So do not do that. Make sure you get this to be completely center of mass of the eye, with snapping to be precise. At this point, I wish I put my eye in the center when I did it. Put your eye in the center when you did it. What does that mean exactly? Oh, someone's calling me. What? Oh, that's a spam caller. At 8:11, what the hell? The eye in the center. Well, I mean, I think it was rotated slightly in the socket, and I just cut the UV and painted on it. Oh, I see. Well, you could. So you can't snap it. Well, you could create a root. Yeah, right. Calling it this hour with a span. You could just. Well, Tenny, your eyes, if I remember correctly, were like this. So this won't work for your eyes at all. You would instead need to have a spherical eye. Because think about it, if you have your eye shape like this, and then you start rotating that, like that's gonna look creepy as fuck. Like when your character's like looking around, like you'll see like the you'll see like the eye actually like deform in shape and stuff. So I would recommend against that. But yeah, if I can figure out that way to get the non spherical eye again, we can remedy that. But for now, this is fine. And I'm going to delete that. And so now all my controls are in the right spot for this. So, well, even if I had that gone. So you need to get that Rapid Rig window up again. You just do Rapid Rig Advanced V2, semicolon, and then you have that up again. So I'm just going to, since I was doing the left side of this character, I'm just gonna click left to right. It's gonna align all of those for me. And then I am going to save proxies. So this is pretty important because if you mess up any other part of this character creation, you'd have to go back and realign all that stuff, unless you had like a file saved at that point. So you can save these proxies individually. I'm just gonna save them in my downloads because that's where I'm doing this example, but and could you save proxies as you go or only at the end? You can save incrementally on proxies, but there's no, I suppose there's a reason to, but you can just save your file incrementally too, and that does the same thing. But yeah, so now we have a proxy file out there, and you're ready to go into the next tab, which is Generate Rig. Now this tab has some rules. First, you got to create your name. Don't do capitals for your name at all. Don't do any spaces for your name. Don't do any commas, any periods, any strange thing. Only do text, and you should be fine. So I'm just going to do Mike. Yeah, you can name it whatever the name of your character is, but remember to avoid special characters and keep it all lowercase, no space at the beginning, no space at the end. Like just keep it flat text, and you should be good. And save as at this point. So this is what I would save as. I would do pre-rig. And then we're going to generate rig. So it's going to ask you if you want to, it's going to be like, have you saved your file? Because you should definitely save your file before you do this, because it's going to break the file. And it has like an option to save proxies out, but we've already done that. So generate rig only. It's going to do some thinking. Then it's going to say a single hierarchy joint. It's going to ask you if you want to create a single hierarchy. This is optional. I do it because I'm in games and things need to export out as one single hierarchy for games. But for our purposes in this class, we don't need to. So I'm going to do no. And then we have our controls. And then this is pretty much rigged. The only thing is that none of these controls drive the character yet. So the last step is to select your skinning joints and then select your mesh. So I have to unclick that reference layer that I hit it on down here. And then shift click your mesh. So that was select skinning joints, shift click your mesh. And then, let's see, it might have it in here. No, it doesn't. You go into your rigging menu. And this changes to a bunch of different stuff. And you can go to skin. Bind skin, I'm going to go to the options though. bind to, I'm just gonna do selected joints. And I'm gonna do in bind method up here, go down to geodesic voxel. And I'm gonna leave everything else default on there. So bind skin. This, before you go click bind skin, this is the one-way part of the thing. Like, so if you mess this up after that, like I'm gonna do this operation and then immediately save as. I'm not going to save over my file. I'm going to just make a new file completely. So please do that. So now it's binding this skeleton to the character. And you can see character is moving. Oh yeah. And you can rotate the shoulders and stuff. You can rotate the head. And the next step in rigging, though, and this is the part that like really bamboozles people on their first time, is if you rotate this, notice how the torso kind of crumples in. That's due to how this character is skinned, right? And skinning means how much influence these joints, so let me show, shading, X-ray joints, how much influence this joint has over these verts. So the reason that it's crumpling that in is because this joint is telling these verts in here to move a little bit. So we're gonna need to go in and manually fix that kind of stuff. And I'll show you guys how. Also, this is when you would save as pre-rig, or I'm gonna do this post-rig now, or post-bind skin. David, I had just noticed through this process that you have some duplicate verts in here. We weren't able to see it before, but now with this bound and moving, we can see it. So you're gonna need to not bind your mesh yet, and you're gonna need to fix that before you bind it. So that's why we save before we bind the skeleton. If you didn't do that and you had this file still and wait one second, let me turn off joints so I don't select them. So if you had those if you had this bound to the skeleton and you realize that problem, then you're going to need to go back and if you don't have a save beforehand, you can unbind skin and then in vertex mode, do edit mesh, merge, and hopefully that gets those verts in there. Yeah, looks like it. Same with these ones. Edit mesh, merge. Then if you wanted those edges to be soft as well, you go in edge mode. Mesh display, soften edge. And then you would go back in, select your skinning joints. Let me show them so you can see them getting selected. Shift select the mesh. rigging, skin, bind skin. And there you go. So now we have a working rig in here. Oh, so this is why we don't mess with the skinning values. Whoa, okay, so some shit's going wrong there. Yeah, so I would load a file before that, because this is the type of stuff that we want to avoid, is awful things like this. Man, it's messed up though. Skin, unbind skin, edit, delete all by type, non-former history, or edit, delete all by type, history. Select skinning joints, skin, bind skin. Let's see if it works. Yeah, because that was insane. Come on. Yeah, nah, dude. Nah, dude. Yeah, so basically don't mess with thank you for that fun fact, Ivan, in the chat. So that's very informative. But yeah, so that's why we do this as like a no point of no return type deal, because this stuff can get messed up. So now for if you're doing a Rapid Rig Modular one, so let's do let's open up, yeah, let's open up Tennies somewhere. This one. No. All right. So if you are going with Rapid Rig Modular, this is a character that I would probably do it with because of the long ponytail. Also, class is officially over at 8:45, but I'm just going to do this past, just so you guys have it, the knowledge. But I'm going to go a little bit quick because most of the let's see, modular v2, because the premise is basically the same. It's just slightly different on how you make that same rig. So hopefully we have all of our values out of there. Okay, I'm going to mesh combine all of this. Modeling, mesh combine. All right. So Tenny, in your case, I would probably use Rapid Rig Modular just so you could rig up this hair, because this is a lot of hair. It would be a shame to not have that be animatable. But yeah, so if we go in and create a new proxy rig, well, first you need to enter in that line of code to open it up. Where is it? Let me find it. There we go. So it's this one. So this would be for you, Tenny, and Jasper, at least. Elaine, possibly, if you want to do the tree moving on top. If you don't, that's fine by me. Who else? Who else might benefit from this? If you have, maybe David, if you have those antennae being able to move, but if not, then it's fine. If you have a tail, definitely. Yeah. I would do this one. If you have, I mean, you can add these controls back onto the advanced one, Rapid Rig Advanced, but not through this method at all. It's through a much more annoying method that I didn't really like having to like get the premise across, because there's a lot of other stuff that you need to know about in order to do that method. And I just thought that Rapid Rig Modular would be a lot more effective for doing this type of work. So first thing we do is create a new proxy rig. And then we're going to have the prefix L underscore and R underscore to the left and right side. And it pops up this little interface, so we can just scale this down. This is our main root control of the character. And then our first step is to create a spine. So if you're doing a, what did he click? I don't think I clicked anything. Wait, what? I entered Rapid Rig Modular into the text box. And then I clicked Create New Proxy Rig right there. That was the one thing. I'm gonna get a drink of water real quick. Be right back. I'll be right, like just a matter of seconds. All right. I'm back. So you did create new proxy rig, and then this is the same process as that other as Rapid Rig Advanced, but we're just going to create each leg, each limb piece by piece. So you see it has like leg options right here, arm options, and then like a head option. And yeah, it also labels in parentheses like the type of things that you would use to create, like that you'd use with that option. So this ribbon spline, you would create a spine or a neck with this. So leg, you'd clearly create a leg. These FK chains, you could create fingers, toes, tail, tentacle, antennae. Yeah, so it's basically a piece by piece. This is like the Legos of rigging, basically. So if we go in and create that spine, we do spine, and then joints, I'm going to turn that down to 3, just so I don't have a bunch of joints in there. And I'm going to move this up to the kind of the center of mass of the character. And if I recall correctly, on a dog or something, Jasper, like you would rotate this, and that now be facing that way. So the rest of the dog would go that way. Would more than 5 be too? Wait, whoa, wait. 5. Shoot, that's a good question, because long neck, absolutely. I think, what does it go up to though? Oh yeah, you can go wild. I would do more than 5. I would do 7 or 8, maybe 8, because I remember I did an octopus back in the day. I haven't done a neck as long as that one. Let me try to find what my octopus is doing. Let's dust off the old graduating college reel. I was going to show this to you guys when we move on to the animation part of the class. So yeah, this octopus, that's with 8 joints. So that's the type of movement you could get out of it. So you get that much flexibility out of it with 8 joints. So just keep that in mind. And then you might be able to get, because you have like a long kind of like a spindlier neck too. So maybe 10. I don't know. That sounds absurd to me, but yeah. So that's perfect. Oh, thank you. So, oh man, I don't recommend animating an octopus at all. It's tragic. Yeah, it's 8:40 now. If you guys aren't doing modular, then you don't have to stick around. If you want to stick around and just hang out, then that's fine too. I'm just gonna go over this. I could go with 7 for a more restrictive movement. That's fine too. It'll be less. It'll hurt your brain less as well, because the more joints you have in there, the more annoying it's going to be to deal with. But yeah, so you get this root at their root kind of control, because you always have this main control, and that'll be to move. And that could be to move them throughout the scene. So now I'm going to add this mesh to a layer, so I don't click it again throughout this process. So now it's on a reference layer. And let's click this root. So the Rapid Rig modular workflow is to kind of just click one of these controls, and then this is going to be the parent for the next control under it. So we're going to click that, and then with our name spine in there, we'll do create this ribbon spline with 3 joints. You see how it created it and went straight up. That's fine. That's what we need. And I'm going to scale that down so the character fits within there. I'm going to move this one down as well, because this is that tip joint. I don't want that to be super high up in there. Let's see now. Now let's create the legs next. So if we go into leg, and then do Jasper, under these options is where you would create that that kind of dog leg shape, because they have those 2 knee joints, right? They don't really. It's just the bottom joint is basically an elongated foot that goes on, and it looks like it's an extra thing, but so we still have the same amount of joints in there. But this leg, you would switch over to the 2 knee joints, and then you'd place those controls in there. But we're dealing with just a regular humanoid right here. So I'm going to do 1 knee joint, and then I'm also going to disable tune legs. Tune legs basically give you a bunch of sub controls in there. And so you can make really wavy arm movements. You can get like really like rubber hose animation in there. That feel free to play around with that, but that is a pain in the ass to set up, because you have like 7 additional joints in each arm and each leg that you have to skin to, and then you have to make sure that they deform nicely. It is a huge pain. So if you're going to go that route, then that's fine. But if not, then I don't blame you. Also, it depends on the style of your character. Like we had a lot of like kind of more anatomically based characters, so it wouldn't make sense to do that really. So with leg, 1 knee joint, and we're making a pair. So I'm going to, oh, whoops, you can't attach to a parent node, my bad. My bad. So what you need to do is go to the oh wait, can we attach to the root though? Let's try it. Oh yeah. So I just clicked on the root there and created that leg segment. I'm going to move this leg up and over. I'm going to try to get that center of mass of the character, where that hip lies. And then I'm going to move this foot over. And this is the ankle joint right here. And it's a bit too big. In general, this foot is just a bit too big, so I'm going to scale it down. Scale that bad boy all the way down. And I'm going to place this ankle a little bit lower in there. My spine is huge. That's weird because I'm using your file. I did scale down the spine a decent amount. I don't know how huge you're talking though. If it's like galaxy size, then something else is going wrong in there. What scale are you in? If you go to Windows, Settings and Preferences. Oh, that's not too bad. No, that's fine. I would just scale that down. And you can scale it from that parent piece right there. Not this quad one, not this root, but this parent. So you can scale it down. So mine was originally like this big. I can't select it. It keeps selecting. Yeah, so add your mesh to a reference layer right here. You see? So in your display layers, select your mesh, then hit this little button right here to make a new layer with that mesh on it. And then double click it to make R appear in this last box right before the layer. And then you should be good to go. For the dog body, from where would we branch out for the legs? Which set of legs? For the back legs or the front legs? Both. So the back legs, I would just, because you have this root that's in the back pelvis, basically. So you click on that root and then do leg option, and you create legs there. And then the next set of legs would come from this spine top section. So you do legs again and get a pair up there. And that should suit your needs. Teddy, did that work? Are you good when you scale it? When you scale it, do you just adjust it in from all sides? No, I just scale all from that center box right there. So if I click my parent, this thing, I'm scaling from this Y. I'm not going to scale only on red or blue. I'd scale from that interior one. And I'm just realizing that this mesh is a little bit off center as well. So I'm going to center that mesh. I'm going to use a point that's in the center of it, like this face right here. So I'm going to do DV to align to the center of the character. Do DX to align the character to the center of the world. I'm going to use DX to get that to the bottom. And there we go. And I'm going to modify freeze transforms. So I need another spine. I don't think so, because it would technically be the it'd be the neck. you basically just have the quadruped body, and then the neck coming out from the spine of it. But yeah, so yeah, spine is in place now. Then you get the leg in there. I'm going to turn this back onto a reference layer so I don't have to mess with it. And you need to make sure this is in this correct spot for all this. I'm going to move this a little bit forward. Make sure this arrow is always pointing forward. The foot. This is the exact same thing as Rapid Rig Advanced. You're just moving these around. I'm going to get this at the ball of the foot. I'm going to get this at where the foot will rotate on from the outside and the inside. And then on these spine joints, I'm going to kind of get them to go center mass of the character. Let's move this one forward too, a little bit. Fix these ones up. And then we go in to create the neck. So we're just going to click that top spine part. We're going to do neck. And then I'm going to reduce the joints down to 1. So it's neck up here, joints 1. I'm going to keep this to y-axis twist. And I'm going to make sure I have that top little pyramid selected. And then I'm going to move this down. Into kind of the base of the head right there. And move this up to the base of the neck. All right, and then I'm going to click that top one, and I'm going to make a head now. So if you go down to the head section, it's this red one down here. At least I think that's red. Could be brown. It's a little bit colorblind. So head. And create head. And you can adjust that to meet your possibilities. And then we're just going to drag that out to the jaw and stuff. And Tenny, basically the rest of it is just creating those arms and the hands, which you do with this. You do 5 chains of 4 in there. But the reason I'm having you do modular is because you're at the end of that, you're going to do tail, not ribbon spline, where is it? FK chain. You're going to do 1 chain because you don't want 5 chains for this hair. You just want that 1 chain for the hair. Joints per chain, maybe like 5. And then don't have mirror and have it just be hair. Then create chain. And then you're going to rotate that 90 degrees to kind of have it match up with that hair. And then you're just going to kind of move that into position. And going to rotate that down there. And you just got to kind of start moving these out as well. and you should be good to go. The also, guys, I just realized that there's a let me see if this works. So there's this little use template button. Actually, wait, let me open Jasper. Let me open up your dog. This might be super sick for saving time for you guys. I'll open scene. Where is Nubble model? Open. Don't save. Continue. This might be clutch. This might be clutch AF. All right, so I'm going to use template on this one. And Tenny, you could try a biped human template and see how that works for you. But they also have quadruped in here. Oh, they have bird as well. Fuck yeah. So quadruped, I'm going to do this. And then create. I'm going to keep this to be LNR. And oh, our character is 180 degrees off, so I'm just going to rotate that by 180. And then modify freeze transformations. Oops. Or ops. No, it's all good. It's all good. Hell yeah. So now let's see if we can alter this. I'm going to first. Damn. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of put this at the base of the hips. And then I'm going to scale this down. Yeah, so that should work out pretty nicely. So if I move this into kind of that hip area. Oops. Hip joint right there. And then this seems to be the next kind of. I'm gonna put your character on a reference layer so I don't keep selecting on accident. Oh hell yeah, dude! This is seeming this sounds like power, dude. Oh yeah. There we go. I'm gonna get that into the center of that little pivot point right there. Right in there. And this next one is gonna be down here. I'll move it back with this though. There we go. And then we're at a little bit of a weird spot right here now because like we want to keep this level, but like this kind of goes to the ground. So we might want to keep, we might want to move all this up actually. I'm going to think of it to be this, to have this standing straight up. Jasper, is this going to rotate at all? Like this span right here, or is this just going to be kind of like points that make contact with the ground?
It was supposed to be kind of like a blade leg.
Okay.
So it like bends.
It bends, but not like, not much though, right? Like
not much, just enough so that it does kind of go with the joints.
Okay, because I would probably have the ankle bit be like somewhere halfway along that, and then we'd move this one back down to there, and then I'm just going to use this one and then not worry about this joint at all. I'm just going to keep that like that. I might even move them like on top of each other right there. We're pretty close. Let's see. That might be strange though, having a missing joint in there. I don't think it'll mess anything up, but it might just be like in terms of using the rig itself, you might have the controls that are like on top of each other. All right, so now let's reposition this again because moved all. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So that one works pretty well. Now let's see where the rest of this thing is. We gotta move this backward. Is that the right one? Neck parent? No. This one's spine top. So I'm going to move this back to here. See, I'm a little bit concerned about this one though. It might work. It might work. We don't really need to look at controls on here. All right, I'm gonna align these kind of shoulders now. Let's see, what is this? Front leg parent. Oh, Jasper, were you planning? Which way were these arms going to bend? Do you think?
That joint that you have highlighted right now is supposed to bend backwards.
So this it would go out this way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's how it looks like it's going to be setting itself up. Okay, so that's pretty much in there. So I rotate this. I would probably. I might. Yeah, it's gonna be strange because you need these fingers to move still, right? Right here.
Yeah, because that's where all the weight's gonna go on.
Yeah. Do some thinking.
I don't mind going through like the actual rigging.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't mind just ignoring the template and just starting anew.
Yeah, that might be what we have to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it doesn't really it doesn't really follow all the rules of a quadruped.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a little bit of an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
And plus you can use arms instead of the leg on here. Like you could do...
That will help with the elbow-ish joint.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah, and the hand too, because you wouldn't have this foot thing there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that might be better. I thought we might be able to save a bunch of time, but...
I would save more time to just go it through the module.
Yeah, right. Yeah, damn. It was worth a shot. But yeah, just keep the root, I guess, like this.
At the hips.
At the hips, yeah, and like with this alignment. Because I think on my tutorial on my rig I rigged it up at like rotated like this, and then messed with it from there. But which it still worked, but I guess this is the way that the guy sets it up, So. But yeah. Damn, dude, this is gonna be sick when you have this character.
I know. I think the thing that I'm gonna love the most is just being able to move the antennae
Yeah, right? That'll be super dope. But yeah, I have the video up online for that stuff, so hopefully it helps with the process. I don't know if you were watching it yet or not, but
Oh no, I was watching it for a little bit, but then I realized that I can't focus on the one voice when both of them are talking.
oh god, yeah, it sounds awful. I don't think I would be able to do that either. But yeah, so I think it's class for now. I'm going to stop recording.